Special edition of the call up here as we're joined by Justyn-Henry Malloy of the Detroit Tigers. What a phenomenal year in the upper minors. And even more importantly, just got the big league spring training invite. So perfect timing to have you on. Thank you so much for joining Jack and I. Congratulations on an awesome season and congratulations on the big league spring training invite. I know you're already in Lakeland. You got to be fired up and ready to go.
Thank you guys for having me. I mean, it's super great talking to you guys again, and I'm pumped. Like the guys are rolling in, we're trickling in, and it's that time of the year, so I'm excited about it for sure.
My first thing, I just got to get it out of the way. Has Colt Keith bought you dinner yet, or what?
Shoot, he better. He better. He absolutely better. No, but I mean, in all seriousness, like congratulations to him. Like that. I mean, that's so awesome. Like for him, for his family, for this organization. I mean, I think that's so sick to happen.
Yeah, so honestly, let's start there real quick, just because I would love to hear it from a player's perspective like you, who's put up great numbers in the upper minors. Feel like you're, I'd imagine, ready to go to contribute at the big league level, and I think you're going to prove that in spring training here. But what do you think as you see a lot of people you've played against and some of your peers even and friends start to get these unique deals? We've seen the pre-arbitration deals, but now these pre-debut deals and these guarantees for guys like yourself that have put up great numbers and have the opportunity to do that. What do you think it does for players in your position, and kind of what's your take just watching some of these guys get this 20 million guaranteed before even having their first big league AB?
I think it's awesome for everyone, right? Because I mean, obviously, everyone's goal is to get to the big leagues, and of course, like with coming with the dream, getting paid a little bit is of course a part of it, and being able to provide for your family, give back to your parents, and all of those things. And I just think it makes now the importance of playing well in the minor leagues. Now you kind of start to see how the front offices are viewing minor leaguers and their production, and they're not just seeing and waiting for production at the big league level and then saying like, okay, this is who this guy is. Now we're really taking a close eye and looking at everyone in the minor leagues and how they're playing and how they're putting up numbers and how the at bats are going. And I just think it's great because it just adds more value to the at bats, even though you're not in the big leagues. But the value of the at bat is still the same, even though in the minor leagues. So I think that that's great for the game.
I love that point. And, part of my thinking when it comes to that is like, hey, even a half decade ago, like 5-6 years ago, we did not have the information on a pitch by pitch or AB by AB basis that we do now in minor league baseball. So it's probably easier to assess what's going on at the minor leagues and how that may, forecast in the big leagues than it ever has been before. So in terms of like bells and whistles that you're working with, is there anything that you were kind of doing in Toledo that you were like, man, 10 years ago, nobody's doing this?
Honestly, like I'm not like if you're like in terms of being like a stat guy, like I'm not your stat guy. Like I'm not like to be completely honest with you, I didn't even know like walking was cool until like I was like a junior in college. Like I just knew that I walked a lot, but I didn't even know like it was like a thing that people would be like, "Oh man, like you walk a lot." Like I was just kind of like, "Oh, I took 4 balls and I walked. I went to first base." But like I'm really not your stat guy, if anything like that. But I mean, obviously, the more statistics that come into the game, it helps out. I mean, it helps out front offices, it helps out players in terms of where they are. At the same time, I think there needs to be a balance of like statistics and then like how well is the game being played and like, just happy balance everywhere.
So it's funny to me that you mentioned not really realizing that you were a guy that walks a lot more than anybody else, because of course one of the big metrics that we're going to look at and people are going to look at is chase rate, and that's one of the areas where you're as low as anybody. I mean, a 15% chase rate this past year. You mentioned kind of realizing it as you were in college that you were selective, but what do you think it was about you as a hitter or just maybe as a person that made you so selective even before you knew the benefits of drawing walks? It's not like you're going up there intending to walk, but when did you realize, hey, I just have a better feel for the strike zone? Or was it just an approach that you had kind of baked into you at a young age?
I definitely think it was kind of both. When I was a kid, like it's funny, like my mom always had this like this story that like an umpire when I was in Little League, like during my at bats, he would pretty much just call balls when I didn't swing and call strikes when I did swing. Like, I think I mean, from that age, obviously, like I think I had a general idea. I didn't really think of it in terms of like in the strike zone or out of the strike zone. I thought of it more of like, can I hit it or not?
Yeah.
And then obviously as that kind of organically grew, just kind of being to describe me as like a hitter, like I'm very competitive. I really do like to compete in the box. Like I think, obviously you have your plan, you create that plan on deck, but then like once it's in the box, like it's kind of just a different animal. You just got to go in there and just like do your best and fight. And obviously while also sticking to the plan. Again, happy balance. But um just like being stubborn is like another thing that like I guess is a word that I would like to also say about myself as a hitter. Just like I know he wants me to chase. I know he doesn't want to throw this ball in the zone, middle. So like he wants me to expand. So like I don't want to help him out any way possible. So I think being competitive is one, and then two, just being super stubborn to the strike zone to be able to put myself in leverage counts to be able to do some damage and help us win.
When I got to talk to you in Indianapolis, I was so impressed by like just your presence on a day by day basis. We talked about your morning walks and your coffee shop, and like you want to almost treat every single day like it's its own separate entity. And that is like a level of comfort that you really don't see from many human beings. So I'm curious, like, are you comfortable getting deep in counts? Is it a thing where like you feel comfortable in a two strike count? Hey, I know who I am. I know what pitches I can get to. I can take a strike. I can take strike two and I can still win the AB. Does that almost bleed in onto the field?
I mean, to a degree. I obviously in college I was kind of introduced, by like a mental coach, and it was just kind of like this thing called like two strike anxiety, where like when guys did two strikes, they get tense, and because they don't want to strike out and they don't want to, mess up and look bad, whatever. And really like it resonated with me like on the opposite end where I was just like, no, with two strikes, like I'm like, okay, like because at the end of the day, like strikeouts happen. And like if you're worried about like I don't want to strike out, odds are you're gonna strike out. It's like that old saying of like, oh, if you're going skiing, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree, you hit the tree. Right. So like, I know punches are gonna happen. I know me as a player, like if they happen, they happen. Obviously, you want to cut down on them. Like every player wants to strike out 0 times through 162. Like, of course, but that's never gonna happen. So like just being able to like fine tune those small things and being able to just compete in the box, like that's all I pretty much try to do in there.
You talked about like the leverage counts and just trying to get yourself in those situations where you can hunt a pitch that you can do damage with, and something that you do really well is elevate, right? You hit the ball in the air a ton, and that's why you're able to hit a fair amount of home runs over the last 2 years. You've hit 40 home runs, but what stands out to me is 135 games in AAA this past season. You hit 23. That's 6 more than you did, that you hit across high A, double A, and triple A in basically the same amount of games in 2022. So being able to up that slugging percentage by 20 points, being able to up the, on base percentage by 9 points, and just do what you did across the board. What really, I wouldn't say clicked because you had a phenomenal year in 22, but how were you able to kind of build on what was already a really good year in 22, going to a new organization and still somehow have a better year at the most challenging level you've played at? What allowed you to do that last year?
I mean, realistically, like I go by the kind of saying like just same guy. Obviously you want to evolve and you want to get better and you want to work on your small deficiencies and evolve as a player. But like at the end of the day, like when someone's like, yo, like what are you working on in the off season? Right. I'm just like, if I had a good year, of course, like I just want to be the same guy. Like I just want to be able to replicate good years, year after year after year. And again, still trying to reiterate, like still trying to get better with the small things. If I didn't hit a particular pitch as well, like let's hammer that pitch so we can get better at it. But at the same time, it's not like I'm trying to make these big changes to do big things. Like I'm really a fan of like if I just stack up good days in I mean, in the long run, it's just going to turn you into a better player. So I really do think about just trying to be the same guy, just evolving and just being the same dude overall.
Did you feel like the tighter zone in AAA and a little bit of the ABS system kind of worked into your favor there? Because just in general, even without the ABS, I feel like with double to triple, you start to see a little bit more of a big league zone. It's not going to be the big league umpires, but it's closer. And for a guy like you, I'm sure you felt at times in the lower levels, and I'm sure especially in college, that you may have known the zone better than the umpire. I know you're not the type of guy that's going to say that, but I'm sure there's a lot of pitches through the years that you spit on that, where ball is called strikes, and you were right. Did you feel like AAA almost was able to kind of help you leverage an advantage that you've always had even further?
So it's funny, like it's to a degree ish. So like if I was to say like my own personal opinion on ABS, I liked it because it was, or it should have been, I don't know how exactly it was, but it should be the same zone every single day. It's not up to an umpire's discretion on like what he thinks a strike or a ball is. However, I do believe that the strike zone that like we had was a little bit more down than most hitters thought. And the balls that were up, like there were times where I was in the box and I took a fastball up and I'd be like, okay, like I wouldn't be mad if he called it a strike and he called it a ball.
Mhm.
But then there'd be tons of times where like I would spin on a ball down, I'd be like, that ball's down, and it was a strike. So like I do think like it was an adjustment period just due to like, okay, what is now a ball and a strike in AAA? And also, again, I think there's also now that adjustment period. Like if you go from AAA to the show, like again, I haven't been to the big leagues yet, but I do think that some of those balls that are at the top of the zone, they're probably strikes in the big leagues that aren't called strikes in AAA. And the same thing with the ball down, like umpire in the big leagues might call it down, but in AAA, it's a strike. So like it's kind of this like weird, like we're only one step away from the big leagues, but the zone is kind of different.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like my take, and just being able to see it every day and everyone's at bats. Like it was kind of like the same for pretty much. I can't speak on everyone's at bat, but like it was kind of like the same where it was like, oh, I thought that ball was down, and then you look on iPad to strike, and and so on. So, but I do think the consistency of it overall is pretty cool.
You figured it out quickly enough. And we were talking before we hit the record button. Last time I talked to you, you were under 100 walks. You end the year with 110. So, quick trivia: where'd you finish in minor league baseball in walks? Do you know? You were
Uh,
number one in minor league baseball in walks. I went minor league baseball and major league baseball. Soto was one, Kyle Schwarber was two, Justyn-Henry Malloy was three, and then Matt Olson and Jet Williams were four at 104 walks. So it's a unique number, but you are one of the best in baseball, regardless of level, at seeing balls, which is like really cool.
it's kind of sick. Oh wow, that's good
Right? Those
company.
other guys had more
Good
games to
com-
work with too.
Right.
Shoot, I mean, all right. I mean, that's great company. I mean, I again, like I'm really not trying to like focus on it. And again, like you said, like I don't go into the box trying to walk, but like I mean, that's 110 times getting on base. So just gives us an opportunity to score a run. That's all I
Yeah.
really want to do, especially with the guys behind us. Like you see the guys in our lineup. Like, I mean, we had Parker, we had Colt, I mean, like I'm naming guys. I could just name guys and keep going for 9 straight, but like just give him an opportunity.
That was going to be my next thing. You were surrounded by so much talent on that team, and we're seeing that matriculate its way to Detroit. And like even before you got there, I mean, how you crossed over with Kerry Carpenter for a little bit, right? When he was on rehab. So a Kerry Carpenter, a Torkelson, Riley Green, name whoever else, they're up there, right? You were with Colt, you were with Justice Bigby. I mean, you mentioned Parker Meadows, like being part of that same, I don't know, age of guy, type of guy. How bright is the future of the Detroit Tigers?
It's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. I mean, I'm excited. Like I'm very excited. Like to just see, obviously watching the games and rooting for them on TV. And then, right now we're gonna be able to share a locker room and try to win some spring training games together. I just think that the future is very bright. Obviously, I can't see the future. I can't, whatever. But I do think with the guys that we have and the pieces that we have, I do think we put ourselves in a very good position to win a lot of baseball games. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing um, ever, just winning
Mhm.
baseball games. So to be able to be surrounded by guys like that, and then we're around the same age, and then it's like you become friends, and then it just adds up to the fun of winning with your boys on the same team and going after the same thing. It's pretty cool to see.
You talked about just focusing on getting on base for a lineup that was, very talented, in AAA, but also doing some damage yourself. You hit a lot in the leadoff spot, a lot in the number 2 spot, a little bit in the number 3 spot. Obviously, when you get to the big leagues, you're just like, I'll hit wherever I'm in the big leagues. But what did you like the most in terms of those different positions in the order, like leadoff, 2 or 3? Obviously, 3 you get an opportunity to drive in some more runs, but it just being who you are as a hitter. Was there a spot in that top 3 that you felt most comfortable, that you felt like you could kind of be who you are at the best way possible?
I mean, there's definitely not like one particular spot. Like, I mean, like I just want to hit. I just like getting in the box. I really don't care. But I mean, being able to. I love watching Parker's at bats. I loved hitting second because usually it went Parker, me, Colt. So like I loved hitting second because I know Parker's getting on and he better steal me a bag, right? Because he's way too fast to be standing on first. So he better steal me a bag. And then he does. And then he's on second base. And then he gives me an opportunity to get him in, right? And then, okay, runner in scoring position. Maybe the pitcher doesn't want me to have that opportunity. Oh, wait, guess what? Now you got to deal with Keith. Okay, now what are you going to do? You going to load the bases drunk, or are you going to you're gonna face the next guy, like, or Big B, or you know what I'm saying? So it's just, it just turns into a snowball effect, which, as an offense you want for a pitcher where it's like, where do I go? And then like when you add just, a bunch of guys who just want to give it to the next guy. Like imagine like a lineup like that where it's like, no, I don't need to do it. Next guy can do it. Next guy, I don't need to do it. Next guy can do it. That's not being passive, but it's almost like a trust in your teammate where it's like, I don't have to put all this pressure on myself. Like I know I got backup, and the guy after him has backup, and the guy after him has backup. So like now you're just creating a deeper and deeper lineup, which puts a pitcher in a hole. So if you're able to do that as an offense, I think that really puts your team in a good spot to win ball games.
I love that answer. That's a fun answer. And that kind of fired me up because it totally makes sense. And that's what you think about from a leadoff guy, right? See a bunch of pitches, get on base a ton, but you never really think about it from the 2 spot. I like that from the 2 spot because you got the leadoff guy on base. All of a sudden, your 2 guy walks and then it turns into a bad inning. I'm curious, pitcher you had maybe the most trouble with in minor league baseball, or the nastiest arm that you saw in minor league baseball this year. Do you have one that comes to mind?
Dude, Futures game. It's funny. It wasn't. It wasn't even in. It wasn't even. It was Futures game. It was one at bat, and it was maybe my second or third at bat. I don't even know. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I just know if I see him, it's like,
Jacob
okay,
Mizorowski.
It's
yup,
Mizorowski.
there he is. That guy. I remember. I forgot who was hitting. I think it was Soderstrom with the Oakland A's. He's hitting, and I think I'm after him. And I think there might have been 2 outs. And I remember I was on deck and I'm not, I mean, obviously, like, let's get it. Like, I'm trying to
Right.
go. But I remember the elements of the inning because there was a shadow, like a very bad shadow. And I'm looking at the board. I'm like, this guy's throwing a buck 02. He's throwing a 92-mile-an-hour cutter. And I think he might have a split because I think he threw, I probably wouldn't see it because I'm righty, but I think he threw Soderstrom a split. And I was like, okay, buck 02, cutter, split. All right, let's get it. So I get in the box, and I'm pretty sure I fought him pretty decent. I think 2-2 count, I punched. But I remember I went back into the round, and I was like, big leaguer. I was just like, big leaguer. Like that was an at bat where I was like, okay, like I want him again. Like let's do this again, but more of like in a clean, old fashioned competitive. Like he's good. He's very good. So definitely him. What's his name again?
Jacob
Mizorowski.
Mizorowski.
Yep. So
He's also 6'7". And another aspect of it is he only releases the ball from like a 5-foot release height. So he gets extension as if he's 6'7". So he's releasing it close to home. It's super low. And then, as you mentioned, it's 102. I think if you created just the create a pitcher in a lab, like he's just about up there. And I was wondering if that was going to be a name. And so every once in a while too, you'll get a name of like somebody that's obviously they're all great pitchers, they're all really good players, but you'll be surprised. But it's just certain players, certain releases that maybe you don't see as well, or that make you uncomfortable or whatever. Something that I noticed when I was compiling at bats for our live breakdown of some of your best ABs of the year is you feasted on rehabbing veterans. Did you pick up on that? Like you had like several home runs, and we're gonna break into it later. But like you had several, I think you hit one off like Hyunjin Ryu. I want to say like Kyle Hendricks or someone adjacent to that. Like absolutely,
Bundy too, right?
Bundy as well. Like
Bundy,
you took a bunch of like rehabbing vets deep.
I mean, again, I'll start off like all respect to them. Those guys have had careers that I want. Like I'm just putting it like they've had careers and made a ton of money and are able to provide for their family. So like this is in no disrespect and in all respect to those guys. But I gotta say that those were some of my coolest at bats, man. Like those are especially just like going. I remember so my first time facing a rehab guy because I actually didn't know anything of Bundy's career. So that was earlier in the season. Obviously, he's been very successful in the big leagues and stuff like that. But I remember Kyle Hendricks in Iowa. It was my first at bat against him. I'm pretty sure I might be leading off the game. And not that there was nothing timid in myself, but it was almost like an awe, like, oh man, this is someone that I've seen on TV have a ton of success. So like I was kind of like caught. Like I wasn't like doing what I need to do in the at bat. Like I was just kind of just like standing there watching Kyle Hendricks pitch from the best seat in the box. And then I remember I was just like, I think I might have punched. I don't know. I didn't have success the first game. But then on Mother's Day, because we faced him on Tuesday, I think we faced him on Mother's Day on a Sunday in Iowa. I literally was like, I was leading off that game. And I was like, swing as many times as you can. He's going to live in the zone. Like, get your swing off. And I remember I pink bat, pink everything, cleats. Is my mom. Like I know she's tapped into the game, and I got a change up, and I left us. And I remember rounding the bases. I was just thinking about my mom. I was like, she is so pumped right now to see that with a pink bat. But yeah, I mean, obviously that was my one experience or first experience facing a rehab guy. But seeing facing all those other guys like Ryu and I don't know if Dallas Keuchel was on rehab at the time. I don't know, but I obviously, big league, arm. But I mean, he was also incredible to just watch and see how he maneuvered. But once it was time to get in the box, like get in there. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool, definitely seeing how you face off against those guys.
I know first time we talked, you mentioned you talk to your family all the time. Like every day you try and get in touch with them. Is that like the one thing that you do every single day during the season? Is there something else that you're like, okay, I need to do this before I show up to the ballpark?
I try to have, well, not try to have, I have my routine, right? But I also try to not make it like if I don't get it in, I'm shaking all day.
Yeah.
So like again, like I try to make it that happy balance of like what are things that I like to do before I go to work, and like it could be as something as small as like I like playing video games with my boys. You know what I mean? It could be a Saturday, we have a night game, like in the morning, run some Fortnite with my boys. Like we're all the same. So it's like what are some things that I like to do? I'm not like a strict I need to eat 2 pieces of bacon, 3 eggs. Like I'm not that guy, but like I have my routine. Like I want to call my mom, I want to call my dad, I want to check in, see how they're doing. That kind of relaxes me. Okay, they're good. Okay, boom, we'll text throughout the day, but I call my parents. Obviously I live with my girlfriend now, and obviously I want to make sure that she's good and she's okay. And we'll check in and we'll talk with each other. And like that's another thing where it's like we need to, because those relationships outside of the field are incredibly important. And then, obviously for me personally, like I like going on a daily walk. It just kind of clears my head. And even on those walks, I'm able to talk to my parents, kind of knock out two birds, one stone. And and then I start to find things that I enjoy in the area. So like I'm a coffee guy, but like if I don't have coffee that day, I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna feel like my routine is out of whack.
So I am gonna die if I don't have coffee. That's my thing.
My mom's the same exact way. She needs her
Yeah.
coffee every morning. So I understand you there, but I'm not that. I would love coffee. I like trying, I hear about a coffee spot. Okay, we're on the road or at home. Let's go there. Let's experiment. Let's try it out. But definitely having routine, but not allowing for that routine to completely dictate how I feel. And if I can't get something done at the time, like I don't want it to ruin my day, you know?
So something that I always like to dive into, and it's just always so fascinating to me, is players like yourself who get better at each stop when it's a more challenging stop each time. And Jack and I have talked about this on the show. Like there's always something just a little extra fun about a player who is even better in AAA than he ever was in college. Which and you had a really good final year at college, but I mean to have your best year of baseball, since Baseball Reference starts tracking it, being in AAA, like I think everybody would sign up for that because that arrow is pointing upwards. But you obviously had to learn a lot about yourself along the way. I know you talk about not trying to change anything or not trying to reinvent the wheel after you have a good year, but you had a situation where, you're on one of the best college baseball teams of all time, maybe not playing as much as you thought, go to a new college, get the opportunity, play really well there, get drafted in the 6th round and kind of just get thrusted right into it and then fly up the ranks and then do what you did last year in AAA. At what point did you feel like you had that? And of course, you were an incredible high school prospect as well, but where you really had that switch kind of flip and you really started to enter this mode of, where you're at now? Like, where did you feel like the tides were really turning for you?
I'll always start off with this saying that Georgia Tech changed my career. Um, just being able to go out and be free and have the trust of Danny Hall, James Ramsey, and to be able to just go out there and play every day, that kind of gave me my like relax. Because I went to Vanderbilt, and obviously, again, like I love Vanderbilt. Corbs and I have a great relationship. He'll let me train there whenever. When I go to Nashville, we talk. Like everything is great. Just in that environment, it was just like it was different. It was just different, and it works out for some players, and then it doesn't work out for other players, and that's okay. Um, but being able to just calm down, and baseball can't be a sport where you're living and dying with every at bat. You can't. It's impossible to succeed when you think you're going to die if you get out because you're going to get out too many times. So like once I was able to get to Georgia Tech and things start to flourish, and it's like, no, you go 0 for 4, you're gonna play Saturday. You go 0 for 4, you're gonna play Sunday. And then guess what? You went 4 for 4 and you cleared a good weekend, right? So like that's kind of where my career started to change. And then pro ball is kind of like that same idea where it's like you're gonna play and you went 0 for 4, 0 for 5, 5 punchies. You're in the lineup the next day. You went 0 for 4 again. You're in the lineup the next day. You went 0 for 4 again. You're in the lineup the next day. So, like, obviously, it's not trying to be like, I'm not trying to make it sound like it's a snowball effect, but it's more about like, I have an opportunity tomorrow. And that gave me peace with being able to relax with my at bats, with the game, with the results of the game and to be able to always tell myself, I got tomorrow. And I'm one of those guys that like I genuinely enjoy playing baseball. Like I enjoy getting after my friends. I enjoy hanging out, like chopping it up at the field. Like I enjoy the game. And to be able to have that opportunity every single day, it's like this is sick. And then, playing every day, like I love playing every day. Like that, I mean, I don't know how many games I played with the Braves. I mean, I don't know, maybe a lot. I was healthy that year. Last year, I was pretty healthy, and I played a lot of games, but, like, I love playing every day. So, I think that that also translates to some success when you're just happy and you enjoy what you do, and you get to do it every single day with your friends. So, I guess that's what translated for me.
Yeah, not many dudes will play 133 their first season of pro ball and then 135 their second season of pro ball. But like you're playing every day. That is awesome. Hey, last thing for me, 60 games at third, play what 30 games in the outfield, right? Yeah, I'm just curious because obviously like needs will change in Detroit and you're comfortable in multiple spots just like your overall comfort level at third base, overall comfort level in the corner outfield spots. I know you played a lot of outfield when you were a Brave farmhand in 22. Do you feel like you can just kind of go back and forth easy? Is there a mindset switch that you got to make? What's up defensively?
I mean, realistically, like it's I just want to go where I'm able to help the team out and to be able to just help our defense and help our pitchers and to be able to just put our team in a position to win. So wherever that is, throw me there. I don't care. But as of right now, I've been getting my work in, I've been getting my fly balls and just being able to get better and just stack up good days.
Love it.
Where do you feel like it comes more natural to you? Probably like just getting more reps in the outfield historically, or third base is also a spot where balls get smashed at you, and it's kind of reactionary in some ways, but on the other side of it, like there's a lot of nuance and footwork, especially as you start to get to the higher levels where these guys are getting down the line in 4 flat, sometimes faster than that, and everything is really about every little half step that you can optimize there. So most guys are getting those same reps in the same spot every single day, and I always admire people like yourself that one are just trying to make it as easy as possible to get to the big leagues by giving their big league team an opportunity to say, oh, hey, we can put him here or there. But at the same time, you also want to provide as much value as possible on the defensive side, and you're split in half. So that part of it is, I think, really underrated, and people don't realize like you're adjusting to upper level pitching, you're adjusting to AAA pitching, and you're also adjusting to playing the outfield against different competition and different reads, and also getting accustomed to playing the infield against different levels of competition. Can you just kind of explain what that whole process was like for you and what it's like to kind of take that all on?
Um, it's a lot, but the game is going to demand a lot from you. And if you want to have success and you want things to work out, like just bust your tail and do as best you can. Um, and that's really all that I'm trying to do. I'm really just trying to like work where I need to work. And, being down here in Lakeland's been great, being around the coaches and picking their brains and getting live reads and stuff like that has been great. And realistically, like I just want to put myself again, like just in that best position to overall put our team in a position to win and to win baseball games. I keep reiterating that. Like it's really all about that. Like
Yeah.
just win baseball games.
Love it.
My last thing I'll ask you is goals for this coming season. Obviously, get to the show debut. You're with the big league team in spring training right now. We know it's coming. We'll say it for you. Like I'm looking forward to that day as well. We were hoping it might even come last year. So we're excited. We know it's going to happen this year. But do you have any individual goals? I know you've mentioned a theme. I think the listener will notice that winning ball games is clearly a priority for you, and when you focus on that, the rest kind of takes care of itself. But do you have any like barometers, any certain things? It doesn't even have to be a number, just something that you'd like to see from yourself this year, a challenge for yourself as you go into 24?
Sorry, I just want to give you the best answer that I have is the biggest challenge is being able to replicate what you did the year before if you did good.
Yeah.
So like obviously, you know, it's great. Like obviously you want to get better. Like if I hit 350 this year with 50, like that's great. Like that's
That would be
sick.
sick. Yeah.
Pretty
You know
good.
what I mean? Like that's awesome. But like at the end of the day, like I do think that being able to just replicate good season after good season after good season. Obviously, there's your ups and downs. Like I went through downs last year. I went through ups last year. Like every other minor leaguer, every other ball player that's suited up, and just being able to just not have it be so like this and more so kind of have it be like that. And everyone's heard it before, but like being able to replicate a good year, replicate good days and to manage at bats, make winning decisions, win in small margins, and to just do that and stack them up. I always like to say you just got to stack up small things, and those small things end up being big things over the course of time. So for me, I'm really not trying to some people might answer, oh, I want to hit for more homers, I might want to cut the strikeouts or whatever. But I do think for me, where I'm at right now, the best thing that I want to do this year is be the same Justyn-Henry Malloy I was in 2023 and in 2022. And if I can keep doing that and I'm the same guy every year and it's just consistent, I think that gains trust in myself, because at the end of the day, I'm still 23. I'm always going to keep trying to find myself as a player and who I am. But if I keep stacking up these good years, it's okay, now this is who I am as a player.
Yeah.
And that now gives more trust than a manager, a front office, because you want to be trustworthy. You want to be someone that, someone is okay, this is who so-and-so is. This is who they're going to be, and this is how they're going to play. And that's just, you can kind of just throw him out there and he's going to be reliable for us. That's all I want. That's really all I want. Just be the same guy and replicate good years, year after year, and just try my best.
I was going to say 277, 417, 474 with 23 bombs. That'll do pretty well for most people. I think that'll be a pretty good goal every single year. So if you replicate that, I think you're in business. Also, your buddy Colt Keith had an exact stat line for what he wanted to a T when he talked to Jack, which is funny. It just shows the duality of man. He's I want 110 RBI. I want this, and this, and almost nailed it, which is crazy because he gave himself. Yeah.
He was I want to hit 300 and I want 30 homers and 100 ribbies. And he was 306, 29 homers and 106 driven in. So I bet he lost a bunch of sleep over that bomb.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Just the duality of man there, but just outrageous the year that you guys had, and outrageous how exciting the future is in Detroit, and you're a big part of it. So thank you so much for talking to us here and hopping on the show. And, it was a lot of fun just to kind of hear more about your journey. And we are really excited to see what you're going to do this coming season.
Thank you guys so much for having me again. This has been awesome. It's always great talking to you guys.